Germany's political landscape is shifting fast. Chancellor Friedrich Merz is facing collapsing approval ratings, economic stagnation, and growing anger over migration and rising living costs. At the same time, the Nationalist Alternative for Germany, or AfD, is surging nationwide, with polls now placing it ahead of Merz's Conservatives.
Recent national surveys show a massive shift. A huge 79% of the public is unhappy with how the country is running. The current government, led by Chancellor Friedrich Merz, is losing support fast. Meanwhile, the AfD has climbed to a massive 27% in national polls. Why are voters walking away from the old, trusted parties? To understand this shift, we need to look at economic fear, massive border issues, unusual leaders, and a deep clash with the very rules of German democracy. The AfD did not start on the streets. It started in elite meeting rooms in 2013. The founders were wealthy professors, lawyers, and economists. Their target was not immigration. It was the euro currency. They were furious that Germany was spending billions to rescue struggling countries like Greece. They wanted Germany to keep its wealth. In their first election in 2013, they got 4.7% of the vote. But 2 years later, everything changed.
It's the biggest crisis of its kind in Europe since the aftermath of World War II. Europe is struggling with a migrant crisis that has resulted in more than 3,000 deaths since the beginning of this year.
But people from many other countries, including Afghanistan, Iraq, Pakistan, Eritrea, they also left their homelands in search of a better future in Europe. Now, faced with an unprecedented wave, Chancellor Angela Merkel's government decided to let them in, and almost 1 million migrants claimed asylum here.
2015 was the turning point. As war tore through Syria, over 1 million refugees arrived in Germany. The European Union tried to force all member countries to take a certain quota of people. The AfD took a very cautious and critical view. They argued that bringing in so many people so fast would ruin Germany's economy, safety, and culture. While critics called them hateful, the AfD told voters they were the only ones protecting the borders. This caused a massive fight inside the party. The wealthy professors were pushed out, and angry, populist leaders took over. This change worked. In 2017, they won 12.6% of the vote and entered the Bundestag, which is the official name for the German parliament. By 2020, they shifted again to fight against COVID lockdowns. And when global energy prices exploded in 2022, they blamed green energy laws and foreign wars. They promised to protect the wallets of working-class people. The power of the AfD comes from its highly unusual leaders. First is Alice Weidel. She is the polished corporate face of the party. On paper, she is the exact opposite of a typical far-right voter. She was an investment banker, she lived in China, and she is openly gay, living with her female partner from Sri Lanka. Yet, she is the one fighting against gay marriage laws and immigration. Her professional style makes radical ideas sound acceptable to wealthy, middle-class voters. Then there is Tino Chrupalla. He is a house painter from the former East Germany. He speaks plainly to blue-collar workers, and this is where the AfD finds its true power: the divide between East and West Germany. When the Berlin Wall fell, the East was absorbed by the wealthy West. But even decades later, the East is poorer. Many Eastern Germans feel like second-class citizens who are ignored by the rich politicians in Berlin. The AfD cleverly taps into this old anger, making them the most powerful party in almost every Eastern state today. If the AfD is so popular, why it is so difficult for them to form the government? The answer is buried in history. After the horrors of the Nazi regime, the creators of the modern German constitution wanted to make absolutely sure a dictator could never take over again. So, they created a system that forces teamwork. Unlike countries like the United States, the UK and India, which use a first-past-the-post voting system, which means if a party A wins 50% seats and a party B earns 40%, then the party A would form the government, which is a winner-takes-all approach. Germany uses proportional math. If a party gets 20% of the vote, they get exactly 20% of the seats. Because the votes are split among many different parties, it is almost impossible for one single party to get over 50% to rule alone. This means parties must always form a coalition. A coalition is when rival parties team up to share power. And this brings us to the ultimate weapon used against the AfD. It is called the Brandmauer, which means The Firewall.
Brandmauer.
The Brandmauer or Firewall is the unwritten agreement that political parties do not work with the Alternative for Germany party because they say they are too extreme.
Well, polls in Germany are showing a striking shift. The far-right Alternative for Deutschland has now emerged as the country's most popular party. Two new surveys suggest the party is on the verge of a historic breakthrough.
Of the far-right AfD to one of its events. It's a debate which exposes the fracture where politics and business meet in Europe's largest economy.
Every single traditional party in Germany has signed an unwritten rule. They have promised to never team up, never negotiate, and never form a coalition with the AfD. Even if the AfD wins 20 or 30% of the vote, the firewall keeps them locked out of power completely. Now there comes a big question. Will this firewall, which was built to keep the far-right out of power, have to be changed? The math is becoming brutal. If the AfD wins a quarter of the seats, the other parties have to form clumsy alliances just to lock them out. These rival parties disagree on everything, leading to a broken government that cannot pass laws. Politicians will soon face a dangerous choice. Do they keep the wall up and let the country freeze in a political deadlock? Or do they finally change the rules? Germany stands at a massive historic crossroads. In the 2025 election, the AfD shocked Europe by winning 20.8% of the vote. And today, they are polling at 27%. The rules created to protect Germany from its dark past are now clashing with the angry voices of a quarter of its population. The AfD does not need the other politicians to like them. They just need the math to break the system. If traditional parties cannot fix the economy and rebuild trust, the firewall will eventually collapse under its own weight. The choices made today will rewrite the future of Europe's largest democracy.